What's up, Colorado Realtors? I'm Scott Peterson. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Legal Bites. I was happy to arrive here at the studio today and find that I did not have an imposter trying to stand in and take my job. Thankfully, I feel secure now, back in my position. For those of you who didn't see the last Legal Bites, I had a little imposter kick things off for me. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving break and looking forward to the rest of the holiday season. It's a great time of year here in Colorado. And my best to all of you Colorado Realtors enjoying our beautiful state and I think the most wonderful time of the year. On to business. I want to talk a little bit in this edition of Legal Bites about real estate brokerage teams. And this is a topic that's been floating around for the last several years in Colorado because teams and the use of teams are on the rise. I like to just as a kind of soft poll, I'll often ask classes or groups that I'm in front of, who's on a team, and I can just tell you, there's no hard data behind this, but every year that I ask, I get more and more hands that go up in the air, and so the use of teams are on the rise, and that's, I think, a good thing. Teams are generally good for a number of reasons. Reason number one is your clients generally tend to like them. They like working with a team. They feel like they've got the support and the push and the backing of a team. They can usually get in touch with somebody on a team. And the teams would like to sell themselves as being, available and a team and the additional support that comes along with that whole concept. And so clients, I think, seem to like them. And then you guys like them as well. Realtors like them because, you've got somebody who's got your back to support the same client. You're all pushing the ball up the hill together, so to speak. And if one of you needs to take an evening or a weekend off, God forbid, or take a little vacation, you've got the support in place and kind of a turnkey transition into doing that. And you've got collaboration and you've got more consistent deal flow and commission distributions, all of that stuff. So a lot of good reasons to be on a team. And so none of this is intended to scare anybody from that concept. But because of the rise of teams, we've had some additional rulemaking and some additional attention over the last couple of years that the Division of Real Estate has given to that. And I want to just, and I get a ton of calls on the legal hotline. People go like, God, I think there's all this stuff I've got to worry about if I'm going to start a team. I'm thinking about forming a team. And there really isn't. But there's, I think, three broad categories that I often find myself talking to people about on the hotline when they call and they want to have a better understanding of the things they need to be thinking about as they're going to form a team. And so I've broken them down right here, and I'm going to talk just very quickly about each one of these areas. First of all, a team is a business partnership. And in a business partnership, you really should have some form of an agreement. So the team itself ought to have an agreement related to who's on the team, how they're contributing, how they're splitting their commissions within the team, how they're accounting for their commissions. Who's got responsibilities for doing exactly what on that team. And also provisions, unfortunately, for what happens if the team has to get unwound. Who gets these clients? Who gets those clients? How do you unwind the team if that ever occurs? It'd be very comparable to like an operating agreement or something for like an LLC that a company might have in terms of, or a partnership agreement. Something very comparable to that specifically delineates responsibilities and enumerates what the expectations are and how things are going to work in the team. And so if you're going to invest your time in developing a team, I think a team agreement is a fantastic starting point to help avoid some of the disputes that often might come up later as you start doing business as a team. And if you're in front of that stuff, you're much better off. So team agreement is a place to start. The second thing is you got to be thinking about team advertising. And this goes to team branding. It goes to how you're holding your team out. And the Division of Real Estate has some very specific rules, team advertising rules. And I'm going to link those down below. There'll be a link below that you guys can click on that'll take you to the team rules. And so you guys have an understanding of what the expectations are as it relates to team advertising. Most people understand that you can't do anything on a team that would confuse the general population or your potential clients with regard to whether you're a team or a brokerage firm. And because of that, you're specifically not allowed to use terms like, LLC or ABC Realty or ABC Team Inc. You can't use certain identifiers that might confuse a member of the public with respect to whether it's a team doing advertising or whether it's a brokerage firm. And then there's also an expectation in all advertising that a broker does that the brokerage firm is clearly and conspicuously identifiable in any advertising. So as you're developing your team name and the branding of your team, maybe your team logo, I would really, really encourage you to spend some time with the advertising rules, again, linked below, on the things that you can and cannot do. I have unfortunately seen some teams make pretty significant investments in advertising, brand development, naming, saving their team name at the Secretary of State, only to find out like, oh, we can't do it that way, and they're having to then unwind everything that's been done up to that point. It can be very expensive if you're making that investment. So before you go down that road, think about the team agreement and think about your understanding of the advertising rules and make sure that you're going to be compliant with the Division of Real Estate's expectations. And then the last big category that once you're up and doing business as a team that I want to point out is respecting the brokerage relationship. So this is one area that the Division of Real Estate has really been harping on over the last couple of years in most of their education. And many of you have heard me say it, but I want to reemphasize this concept that you can't simply, if you're doing business as a team and you're advertising yourself as a team, you can't simply dip in and out of that team with respect to working with different clients. And this comes up as a real problem in the example where you've got ABC team does all their business and markets themselves as a team, and then on a certain deal, ABC team has a listing. And then let's say broker C from ABC team somehow comes up with a buyer, and they then end up trying to be an agent for the buyer, and then allow the team or the rest of the team to be an agent for the seller. Well, that doesn't work. If you're on a team, all of your brokerage relationships need to be consistent. And so in my example there, where C has a buyer and A and B then would have the seller or the listing, what would have to happen there is that ABC team, the whole team, would become a transaction broker for that transaction, for both sides. And you can't sort of dip in and out of that. And I think that's a point, again, that has been really emphasized by the Division of Real Estate. And there's not going to be a lot of leniency if they're looking at files, if there's a file audit or some sort of a complaint, and the division is identifying the fact that the team is kind of ducking in and out of the team based on their current relationship with any individual given party. All of your brokerage relationships on that team need to be the same. They need to be consistent with the other brokers. Even though you're individuals and even though we've got designated brokerage, and within a brokerage firm you could have two agents representing different sides, if you're on a team, you're all in the same spot. So those are the three big issues that I always start any phone call I get on the hotline with regard to, what do I need to be thinking about as I'm starting a team? And I figured I'd sum them up in one episode of Legal Bites. If you have more questions as you're thinking about developing a team or joining a team, always consider calling the legal hotline. It's available from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4 Monday through Friday. Love hearing from you there and taking your questions. And in the meantime, have a fantastic holiday season. And we will see you again on another edition. I think it's going to be a Christmas edition. Look forward to that, of Legal Bites. Take care, guys.